Hey, this is Ryan of Happy, Healthy, Vegan, and once again a big shout out and thank you to my moderator Peter for forwarding me this story about famous actor Peter Dinklage. You've probably seen him a ton of times on Games of Thrones. Well, he's no longer vegan, well, at least no longer vegetarian. Regardless, still, let's have a listen to what he says about his vegetarian, no meat eating past, why he stopped being vegetarian or vegan, and could he ever go back to being vegan or vegetarian. And before we get started, I'd like to give him big kudos for not throwing veganism or vegetarian under the bus and saying a bunch of nonsense. He actually gave one of the better why I'm no longer vegan or vegetarian videos I've seen before. So anyway, let's jump right in with him explaining why he even went vegetarian in the first place back in the 1980s.
The last hamburger I had was McDonald's cheeseburger drive-thru when I was 16.
So doing some quick dirty math here, he was born in 1969, he's age 55 now. So yeah, doing some backwards math, he went vegetarian somewhere around the year 1985. And for all you young vegans who might be watching, let me give you some perspective about how cool and radical that was. Because in 1984, there weren't vegans really. I mean, there were some, but I had never even heard of the word vegan until the early 1990s. It was really hard back in the 80s and 90s to find good foods to eat as someone who didn't eat meat.
And I met a girl who was like this willowy vegetarian writer from the neighboring all-girls school. I was like, whoa, that's so cool. Vegetarian? What is that?
Aha, so his reason for wanting to go vegetarian back then was to try to impress a vegetarian girl, get on her good side, go out on dates and stuff like that. And he's saying that, yeah, vegetarian, what is that? And yeah, I have to admit, I was like that too in 1984. I was a senior in high school, I believe. I didn't know any vegetarians then.
And then me and my brother, Jersey, went through a drive-thru, ordered McDonald's. I started eating a cheeseburger, and I went, oh, I'm going to be a vegetarian. After I finished this McDonald's cheeseburger. And that was like 50 years ago.
Did you get the attention of the girl? Did she acknowledge your sacrifice?
I actually met her years and years later, about 15 years ago, and she said, oh, I was a vegetarian for like 6 weeks. And I went, it was like a lifetime for me.
That's ironic. I mean, the girl that he went vegetarian for was only vegetarian for like 6 weeks, and him like 40 years. You would think in that 40-year span of him being vegetarian or maybe even vegan that he would have eventually at some point become vegan, you would think, right? I mean, at first, yeah, he went vegetarian to try to get on the good sides of this girl that he fancied, but it seems like if that won't sustain you for like decades or anything like it did for him. So you would think there would have had to been some component of being against animal cruelty and exploitation in his mindset as to why he's doing what he's doing. I mean, that's what veganism is, being against animal cruelty and exploitation. So I'm really confused. Let me know if any of you guys know if he was ever vegan in that way. But anyway, let's continue on.
But you don't eat meat.
I think I've been to 4.
I do now. You know why? Because of Thrones. Like, it needs more promotion. I started eating fish and chicken again on that show. Because
why?
So that's a new one. The reason why he started eating meat again after 40 odd years is because of being an actor on Game of Thrones. Like, why would that make you start eating meat?
Vegetarian, you see, because vegetarian in Croatia,
it's impossible.
Yeah,
you cannot do it.
Yeah, really tired on set, and I was like,
So I get what he's saying. He's saying he's acting on Game of Thrones. It's being filmed in Croatia, and he's claiming that they can't provide him with the food that he needs. I find this a little bit odd because he's a really famous actor, gets paid a lot, and actors on all levels, even on my little level. I'm not an actor, but I'm a musician, and I've had writers, like technical and food writer requirements that we send out to people who are taking care of us and hosting us to make sure we have food that fits our requirements. Like here, from a show that Lovespirals Downwards did in 1996 in Mexico City, you can see even way back then, Ryan doesn't eat any beef, poultry, or pork. So I'm not sure why HBO, whoever is producing the show, can't secure caterers to bring food that doesn't have meat in it. It just doesn't make any sense. And he made it sound like that it was impossible to get vegetarian food in Croatia. Let's rewind the tape again.
Because vegetarian in Croatia,
it's impossible.
Yeah.
You cannot do it.
Yeah.
Well, I've never been to Croatia, so I can't tell you firsthand if it's impossible to be vegetarian or vegan in Croatia. I highly doubt it. In fact, we could look up restaurants in the city that Game of Thrones filmed most in. I'm not a fan of Game of Thrones. I haven't watched it really all that much, but here's the city, I don't know how to pronounce it, that most of the filming was done in. And Happy Cow, as of today, returned 90 results for restaurants that have vegan, vegetarian, or veg options in that city in Croatia. And one of them is even completely fully vegan. And from what I can gather here, it must be quite popular because it has 472 reviews, averaging about almost 5 stars. And in addition to this fully vegan restaurant, there are 2 fully vegetarian restaurants in the city as well. So as we see, it's far from impossible to be vegetarian or even vegan in this Croatian city that Game of Thrones did so much filming in. So it doesn't really make any sense to me how the producers couldn't secure some meatless food. He's not even asking for vegan. He's just asking for good old-fashioned 80s vegetarian food for him, one of the big stars of the show. I'm not saying he's lying. I'm thinking maybe the producers of the show were lying, saying, no, there's no vegetarian food here. We're way out in Croatia. This isn't California anymore. No, but anyway, let's continue on. At least I'll give him kudos for not like doing what so many anti-vegans do. It's like, first they throw veganism onto the bus. They say, I'm just going to start off with some fish. Then like 2 weeks later, they're eating at a steakhouse or even going carnivore and featuring butcher box ads on their YouTube channels. No, he ate fish for a very practical and sentimental reason, not justifying. I'm just telling you.
My dad and I fished together, and I missed fish, and so and you're right on the seaside there, so it's
you got to get after it.
And I said, I'll have a tuna steak, and it was just that was it. But I don't eat the cow or the pork or that stuff.
Really?
So on a personal note, I can kind of relate to what he's saying here because I don't think I've ever shared this before with you guys, but I have many fond memories of going on fishing trips when I was a kid with my dad, back in the 70s and maybe early 80s. We didn't catch that many fish, but we just went to so many great locations, mountains and rivers, lakes, oceans, islands, These are some of the memories I still cherish to this day. However, just because I had these great memories of going on fishing trips with my dad, I don't use that as a justification. Well, I'll start eating fish again, and I'm not going to care about their rights and that I'll be exploiting and harming them. But anyway, like I said, that's no justification. That's no excuse for harming animals in the present because you have some fond memories harming them in the past with your dad. So yeah, just let people know that if they're trying to fight you about why they can't give up fish or anything like that. But the bottom line is I see no reason why now that Game of Thrones is over, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not a huge fan, but it looks like he's back in the United States. He has access to all the supermarkets, all the restaurants, all the food he's used to here. Can't use the excuse, well, I'm in the middle of nowhere here in Croatia where there's like 3 vegan and vegetarian restaurants. What I'm trying to say is I don't see any reason why he couldn't go back to being vegetarian or vegan if he was, because if he truly cared about not harming animals, not exploiting animals, not killing animals, and he had to violate that because the producers of a show were stupid idiots, well, he has no excuse now. So I hold out some hope for him. What do you guys think? So comment down below. Let me know if Game of Thrones is a cool show. Should I watch it? I saw maybe part of the first episode. It didn't really appeal to me, which is weird. I kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, that sort of thing. So I thought this show would resonate with me. Maybe I need to watch a few more. So let me know what your thoughts are. And let me know what you think about Peter. Can he go back to being at least vegetarian again? Because like I said, this is a really weird me responding to why I'm no longer vegan or vegetarian, but I really have nothing too bad to say about him. So let me know what your thoughts are. I think he can go back. He's not being a jerk or anything like that. So hit like, share this video, get notified by hitting the notification bell, and see you on the Friday live stream, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until then, remember, doesn't suck being vegan.